Greetings and welcome to our class for this evening. My name is Dr. Dorinda Carter-Andrews and my topic is networking for your career development. I'm so excited to be able to share both a definition for networking for you in the workplace, but also some tips on why networking is important and how it can help advance your career. So to begin, let's talk about what is networking, and I mean networking in business, because there are different types of networking. And a traditional definition tells us in business, networking is the act of maintaining a personal and professional contact list that you can use to help further your career. And you see, I highlighted that here in yellow for you. Your network is made up of all the people you interact with, all of whom could potentially offer you valuable professional assistance and guidance. Now, that's a traditional definition of networking, but I want to invite you to explore a different type of definition for networking, even for career development. And that is, networking is actually about building long-term relationships as well as a good reputation over time. And that is so important as you think about your career because careers last typically a long time. Networking involves meeting and getting to know people who you can assist and who can potentially help you in return. So if you look at that in the yellow, you'll see that that's quite different from the first definition that I read. And notice that good networking has a basis of trust and support. And I really want you to key in on that networking is not just about who can I meet, who can I get to know, but how critical trust and support are to that relationship building. It can really mean the difference between a mediocre career and a phenomenal career. So now that we've gone over a definition of networking, why is networking important? And I'd really like you to take a look at this picture that I have here. You'll say, wow, it's got purpose in the center. And that's intentional because I think even as you think about networking for your career, you have to think about purpose. And what you see here are various aspects that manifest when we know our purpose and can be critical to our networking. You'll see passion, mission, profession, vocation. And so as you're beginning to network, you want to think about passion. What is it that you love? Think about mission. What does the world need? When you think about what the world needs, you begin to think about the types of networks you need to develop. As you think about profession and vocation, you also want to think about what can I be paid for? Right? Networking is useful because we have to sustain ourselves in life financially. And so profession and vocation are also part of that purpose piece. And then lastly, what are you good at? Right? So understanding what you're good at helps you to target the right kinds of networks for your success. Now let's talk about a couple of detailed reasons of why networking is important for career development. And I'm going to give you about 8 of these reasons. And we'll start with the first one. And that is, networking is an avenue to exchange ideas. Now I'll tell you what I mean by that. I am a professor and an administrator in higher education. And if any of you have been to post-secondary school, you know that a college or a university is a place where people are exchanging lots of ideas. And if someone is a professor or an administrator, they need networks because they need ideas for their research or their teaching or even their leadership. And so it's important for me to be in community with other people, exchanging exchanging ideas and talking about innovations. And so as you think about networking, I want you to think about this first point, and that is, what are ideas that I need to be talking to others about that I have in my head? And also, what are ideas that I might pick up from others that will help me advance my career in ways that I wasn't even thinking about? You can never tell how much you know without listening to other people. So part of networking and exchanging ideas is not just about you doing all the talking, but really being an active listener, soaking in the ideas, the insights, the points that others are giving you. Success in a career is largely attributed to the pool of information or ideas that you have garnered over the past and over time. When you develop networks, it fosters a trade of ideas to sustain, that point I first made, long-term relationships and mutual trust. So again, I want you to be thinking about this first point of why networking is important, and that is, it's an avenue to exchange ideas. Now let's go on to the next point. Networking is also important because it makes you noticeable. That's right. You want to be noticeable, and that's a motivation to connect with other people. One thing about being noticeable is that people quickly notice others that have stronger capabilities that make them relevant. I want you to ask yourself, how am I relevant in my profession or my vocation? And how do I let others know of my relevancy? They can't know unless you're networking with them. So being noticeable is really important to not just sustaining your career, but expanding it. So again, think about, what are those strong capabilities that you have that make you relevant, and how do you share those with others? The second point about being noticeable is standing out creates room for partnership. I want you to really hone in on that, because a part of networking is developing partnership, right? There is reciprocity, or there should be reciprocity in networking, cultivating relationship, having that mutual trust and respect. Networking is not a one-time point of contact. It requires follow-up. And for you to be noticeable, you may have to follow up multiple times. Individuals that seek publicity, either for business or for fame, they leverage more on networking. I want you to think about the people in your life or in social media who have garnered certain types of fame. And we could argue whether that fame is good or not so good, desirable to you or not desirable. But again, it's the networking that helped them garner that fame. When you stand out in both your expertise and the services you offer, it creates that room for partnership, because somebody else is going to want what you have, your goods, your services. So this is really important, and I want you to remember point number 2, networking makes you noticeable. It creates room for partnership. Now let's talk about a third reason why networking is important for career development. It's an avenue for new opportunities, right? Maybe you've become stagnant in your daily job. You're bored. You're not sure what you want to do next. You don't know what the road ahead is going to offer for you. It's time to network. It's time to expand your network, because that expansion opens the door for new opportunities. You may be able to expand with minimal effort because of networking. When you develop partnership with the right person or right people at the right time, they may have the right resources for you to move to the next level. And so that's why networking has the possibility to open the avenue for new opportunities. Another point about that is meeting and engaging people of higher status than you can be a stepping stone in your career. This is important. It's good to network at a parallel level as you, but if you are trying to grow in your career, in your vocation, you're gonna have to get out of your comfort zone and develop relationships with those who are a step or two above you in rank, in status, in capabilities. Right? Maybe they have some skills or expertise that you're seeking. So it's time to connect. So I want you to think about that. When people start noticing you, it opens the door for new opportunities. Business and career-minded individuals who have networked over time have been able to expand with minimal effort. Why? Because of the avenue of newer opportunities open to them through their networking. Opportunities like meeting the right clients or even meeting people, as I said, that are superior to your career path can definitely be a stepping stone. And you know what? That can change your life for the better. So let's go to the next point about networking. Networking is also an opportunity to reassess your qualifications. You've been doing the same thing at the same job for so long, you forget, oh my goodness, I have some qualifications and skills that I'm not even using. What does that mean? It might be time to network. And doing that allows you to utilize those skills and capabilities at the next level. So there's some questions I want you to think about when you think about reassessing your qualifications. What are skills and qualifications that you have that you are not using? Literally, take a skills inventory. You've become stagnant in your career. It may be time to do that. And also know that networked relationships help you reach your desired heights. So you'll see here on the slide that I've listed a figure here with job competencies and descriptions. This is to trigger for you to begin thinking about innovation and creativity, verbal communication. Wow, maybe I've got some skills there that I haven't been using. Written communication, global fluency. What about project management or digital literacy, right? You may have some of these skills, but didn't have the language to actually name them. I'm hoping that this diagram will be helpful for you and you can look at these definitions and begin to trigger within yourself skills and capabilities that maybe have been dormant for a long time. Even critical thinking and problem solving or quantitative reasoning. Now, you'll see on this next slide that I have those same job competencies and the associated skills. So the previous slide gave you the definitions of those competencies. Now you can look here, for example, and say, what does she mean by digital literacy? Well, what's your ability to leverage technology, to navigate online resources? What about social networking? You may say, I'm really good at that. And the job I currently have doesn't allow me to utilize the skills and be noticeable. That may mean it's time to network, okay? So I'm trying to get you to think about some things here around networking as an opportunity to reassess your qualifications. In today's age, people don't stay on the same job for 15, 20, 30 years as they used to. Employees are much more mobile and active in the labor force. And so you want to be marketable and active and mobile as well, and networking helps you to do that. Now let's look at another reason networking is important. And this is one people may not think about often, but I really like this one because as someone who considers themselves an intellect, I really like having my creativity challenged. Networking improves your creative intellect. Now you might be saying, what is a creative intellect? Well, I just pulled up here one chart on whole brain creativity, and you'll see here that there is information about being goals driven, results driven. You may be people driven. Some people are primarily vision driven, and that's where your creative intelligence comes to life. Networking improves your creative intellect. And I'll tell you why. You'll see on your screen that I just pulled up another figure. On the left-hand side, you may be thinking, how do you define creative intelligence? And how is it different from other types of intelligences? Well, you'll see here, when you think about creative intelligence, analytical intelligence, and practical intelligence, the creative is imaginative and innovative problem solving. I want you to ask yourself, am I an imaginative problem solver? Am I an innovative problem solver? And if you're thinking, this is an area where I could grow because it will expand my career opportunities, it's time to network. So I want you to be thinking about that. This last figure that I'm pulling up, you'll see on your right, and it gives us emotional versus creative intelligence. Now, this is not an either or. Networking is good for both, right? But many of us have emotional intelligence. We're empathic. We can read others. We know how to demonstrate kindness in the workplace. But again, that creative intelligence may be an area where we are seeking some additional help on skill development. And as you look at the figure, you'll see emotional intelligence is about self-management, relationship management, self-awareness, and social awareness. But that creative intelligence is adaptability, versatility, imagination, curiosity, flexibility, and agility. You may be thinking, I don't know if those are characteristics that people would use to define me. That's okay, because networking provides the opportunity for you to enhance your creative intelligence. Creative intelligence is the ability to frame problems in new ways and make original solutions. When you can do that, you are noticeable, you stand out. And if you're thinking, I want to build my creative intelligence, then I want you to think back to another point about networking. Networking with people who are higher status than you, who you see their creative intelligence is really strong. Okay? Aspirations and great innovations are most times from the external factors around where we find ourselves. Even a simple interaction with one person can transform a year-long research work and result in a breakthrough. Like-minded people that have been able to share ideas have strongly developed their intellect to foster growth in their career path. And that, my friends, unleashes the creative talent in you. So I really want you to be thinking about networking as improving your creative intellect. Now let's talk about networking as improving growth in status and impact. In your career, I want to ask you, what kind of impact do you want to have? It's not just about your own personal growth, but what is the impact you want to have in your field, on other people, in the world? Networking improves both your growth and status, but also your impact. A point that I just pulled up here is the contacts you keep are largely attributed to your growth. What company are you keeping? Is it company that's going to help you grow? If not, you need to expand your network. Secondly, your connections are powerful. The ability to connect and have deep, meaningful, authentic relationship is so powerful. And that's what networking ought to afford you in the workplace and in your long-term career. Developing your career status is a long-term process. You can't be quick to want to get to the senior management position. It takes time, it takes growth, and it takes development. And it also takes networking. So I want you to remember that. The large influence of the contacts you keep, as I said, attribute to your growth, and they largely influence growth in your status, and they pave the way for better opportunities. Once again, your connections are powerful. Nobody wants a weak connection. That's why you want to be networking with people not who are parallel to you all the time, but who there's some kind of vertical alignment, meaning they are of higher status with you and have something to offer. Let's look at another point. Networking can aid in garnering support from high-profile individuals. I mentioned this earlier, and I want you to think about good networking with high-profile individuals from the same career path can serve as support whenever there's eventuality at any time. What do I mean by eventuality? Crisis. If you got a good network at a time of crisis, you will have people to support you. And crisis can look a lot of different ways in the workplace. What you don't want to happen is that you crumble and falter in a time of crisis in the workplace. Not having the right supportive network can lead to that. And so again, networking can aid in garnering that support in a time of crisis where there's lack of materials. Your network can jump right in to help you. And so I want you to be thinking about who in my network has the necessary supports I need when I need them. Another thing that networking does is it cultivates increased self-confidence. The more you talk to others, the more confident you become. You expand, you practice, right? Some of us are introverts and networking is really hard. That's okay. Take baby steps. Don't try to network with groups, but develop one-on-one relationships. Practice your networking. It is the key tool to growth in a resourceful career. I didn't say successful. Success is one thing, resources is another. You want networking to lend resources to you on the way to being successful. Training and certification garnered from networking builds self-confidence and it promotes self-esteem. And so the more you practice, the more you effectively network, the more self-confidence you build over time. This is the last point that I'm going to share with you, and that is networking cultivates the development of long-lasting relationships. I started out with that, and I want to end with that so that you remember. And I'm going to give you some resources because I don't want to leave you without them. The first one is a book by John C. Maxwell, Everyone Communicates, Few Connect. I want you to check that out if you're looking for a resource to help you with networking. Another, I talked about introverts. It's The Introvert's Edge to Networking by Matthew Pollard. Another one, which is the most straightforward, is Never Eat Alone by Keith Ferrazzi. Check that out. And lastly, Super Connector by Scott Gerber and Ryan Powell. These are good resources for you as you traverse the road to better networking. Lastly, as I close, I'll leave you with a couple of quotes. Networking is not collecting contacts. Networking is about planting relationships. Networking is more about farming than it is about hunting. And lastly, your network is your net worth. And I would not leave without leaving you with an African proverb that you may be familiar with that I think is pertinent to networking. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go with others. Enjoy your networking, and I can't wait to hear about it. Thank you for joining our class this evening.